sure a lot of people have seen these PragerU ads, um, and I like some of them. Um, this isn't. This is just about this one ad. I just had a very big issue with it. So basically, it goes like this. They give you this like long story, and basically it's about how unfair taxing rich people extra taxes is. And so I'm all for like a meritocracy. I'm all for everyone getting what they deserve. There are a lot of very like fine points that kind of get swept under the rug, and the argument here like I really didn't like, and I knew that PragerU was going to do something like this. See, this is what happens anytime there's an organization going on. Like, you can't trust them because they bait and switch, right? They bait and switch, and the bait and switch here is like, oh, they make a few videos like that are very controversial and of unpopular views, and then people are like, oh, I like that, and then they slap you with something else that's like complete nonsense. That's why and this is what I've always said, the only source of truth and goodness is when you look into the eyes of another person and you hear what comes out of their mouth and you feel the feeling that you get when you're talking to them. That's how humanity like functions. And it's impossible at this scale, but that's why YouTube is such a great platform, because it lets single people connect with audiences and not some like organization. PragerU is an organization, and there's someone behind that. Most of the people there are getting paid to do the content that they're doing, and most of them wouldn't be doing it if there was no paycheck involved, or if the paycheck wasn't a certain amount. So always keep that in mind, even when you see some content that's like, oh, that's really cool, or oh, that's really edgy, or oh, like they get meme culture, or oh, they get what I've been thinking. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's why I love how a lot of people are like, oh, I hate CNN, and I hate this like the libtard like CNBC, oh, Fox News. No, Fox News is just as bad. It's just as bad. It's just feeding you a little bit of what you want to hear, and that's the whole point. That's why they're so extreme. That's why they're on the extreme sides, so that you either like this one or you like this one, and you feel very strongly about it, because the more strongly you feel about like hating the other side, the more you're going to listen to this side. But then they feed you the same crap because they're an organization that's funded by extremely wealthy people, and the name of the game in capitalism and the free market economy is, when I get rich based on my merit, I get mega rich, right? How do I make sure that the next person who takes over my legacy, whether it be my son or whether it be someone I appoint, whatever, how can I make sure that they keep that money going? Because the way DNA works, the son isn't always as good as the father. We've seen that with monarchies, we've seen that with emperors. That's why no one family ever rules forever, right? But now what can happen in democracy, in this democracy that we have in the free market capitalism, is when you get on top, right, you do whatever it takes to change the game. So it's no longer a meritocracy. So now your like dumbass son can actually still stay on top, and even one day become president with all the money you left him, even though he's not even half as capable as you. He has all of his intelligence doesn't even fit on your little finger, right? So these people on the top always want to, it's in their interest to push a certain agenda. And this is the case with anything other than an individual person you're talking to. Like when you're talking to like the person who drives your bus, and they're swearing at you and they're angry one day, or the next day they're nice. That's reality. That's like real dialogue, and that's real opinion. Even here with me, like I'm not paid to do anything, and I don't even think I'll ever get any money from these videos. And if for some reason I'll be glad if like 5 people watch. But if some reason these videos, if I close my eyes and imagine in my wildest dreams that they make some kind of money, I would give all that money away. I don't want that money, because I don't want to be doing this for, like, I have a job, and it's completely separate from what I'm talking about here, and I want these. This is all my own personal opinion, and then you can take it and you can say, oh, this guy's totally dumb, I don't want to listen to him, or you can like some stuff I say or make you think. But if you don't like me, go find someone else, go find a third person, but talk to the person next to you in class, next to you in the next cubicle over to you, and listen to them more. And rather than saying, oh, they're dumb, they're like, the news told me about people like them, they're that kind of person, don't do that. Just keep that dialogue open, because that's how society will be healthy, and that's how society will make sure that the churn always happens fairly, or more fair than it currently is. So anyway, back to the PragerU ad. I want to be quick. I don't want this video to be too long. The PragerU ad is about, like, oh, there's 3 sons and they're all perfectly equal. This is like a hypothetical, right? They're like genetically the same, and all 3 went to the same profession. They're all carpenters, but one person chose to. They all had different priorities, and one person chose to work like super overtime and work like 60 hours a week. They didn't say 80, but they were probably like, "Ooh, can we make him work 80 hours a week?" Anyway, 60. The other person worked 40, and the other person worked 20. And then when it comes time, and then they all buy houses on the same street, and then they want to like pay for some improvements because their street kind of sucks. And the total bill of the improvements is like X. And then they're like, okay, should we split it evenly? And then they're like, well, no, because this brother, like over the years, right? And also that guy that worked overtime, that worked 60 hours a week, he also got married to, his wife was bringing home some crazy salary, and she was a something corporate something whatever. So combined they had like a much, well, the other guy, he chose to marry a dumbass woman, and it's his right, but she didn't make any money. The guy that chose to work part-time, and his wife didn't make any money, so he had to support her, and that was his choice, and it's a free country. But now, many years later, that guy has a lot less money, the middle guy has like a medium amount of money, and this guy's like super mega rich, right? Even though they were all carpenters. And this is going on about how it's unfair to ask the person with the more money to spend more because he worked harder for that money. And yeah, he did. But if you have that kind of system, basically what happens is a lot of people start choosing that, and a lot of people start choosing to work more. They sacrifice more of their lives. They're not present in their kids' lives, right? They're not making healthy families at home. There's all that stuff that isn't talked about. And on top of that, right, if you think about every other family having the same 3 sons and that same situation happening, the price of things in society is going to even out and adjust itself based on the demographic of people who have this much money, and this much money. So when a lot of people work 60, when a predominant amount of people work 60 hours a week, and their wives are also like stuck at some corporate job that they probably hate, and the ad doesn't say that, and they like want to leave, and they want to, and maybe that woman all she wanted to do was have kids, but hey, we're feminists, right? So women have to work. They have to work even harder than men. Like, forget about having the luxury of staying home. I'm sure that everyone would like to stay home, a man or a woman, given the opportunity. Hey, if like my wife makes more money than me and makes enough money to feed us, and one day says, Alex, can you stay home with the kids? I'd be like, hell yes, I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna like do math all day. I'm gonna teach the kids all kinds of stuff. We're gonna go mountain biking. It's gonna be amazing. I would even like do all the like tutoring myself. They're gonna be like top of their class in physics and math. But anyway, that's sidetracking. When a lot of people work the 60 hours, the prices adjust, and what happens is the guy that works the 20, all that does is it gives companies reason to inflate their prices because there's more people who have this more money and are willing to spend more, say, for something basic like having transportation, having a car, or having food. So what happens is the guy that chose to work the 20 hours and wants to live more within his means now can't, because now he can't even afford to have a car all of a sudden. He can't even afford to feed himself. He can't even afford to own, forget about own property. He's scared of making rent and needs to live like 5 hours away from the city, right? So yes, you need to tax the higher people, the people who work harder more, the people who get more income more. You need to tax them more, because then things, first of all, there should be a logarithmic curve to how much more you work up until some level, right? So that we're not incentivizing people to be absent at home. You don't want a society that says, okay, eventually if you want to drive a car, you have to basically like bust your ass and sacrifice your entire life. No, you need to make people feel comfortable with a comfortable job. And as long as they go and they do their job and they're part of society and they're contributing something helpful to society in that they have a job and they're not like vagrant and like doing nothing with their lives, as long as they're playing the game, right, that we don't all agree with but all have to play, as long as they play the game, they should be able to afford a house. They should be able to afford food, and not the food that kills them, not the food that's going to need them to have higher health insurance but like good food, right? So things like pollution and all of this stuff need to get, there's a lot here to this picture. And if you tell me that like if someone works 90 hours a week and he gets to keep every single percent of his money, all that's going to do is eventually there's going to be more and more people that work that much because more and more people want to have more stuff. And sure, the first generation of those people who work 90 hours a week can get a Ferrari or whatever stupid thing they want to spend their money on, or get like a big house or invest in whatever. But the second generation, and as more and more of people want to join this club and work 90 hours a week as carpenters, the more carpentry will start, the more that figure that you bring home with the 90 hours is going to start meaning less and less and less as more people join your club. And that's just how it works in society always. It's just about elitism, right? That's the pyramid, the triangle. The more unique of skills that you have, the more people seek you out, and then they pay you more, and you can bargain that your time and your skill is worth more. So there's nothing wrong with taxing people who work a lot harder more, because that incentivizes you to not work that hard, but to work like an amount that's reasonable. And that's going to keep a society where you have time, for instance, every day after work, it feels like you have a half day left to go and enjoy your kids, to go and enjoy the money that you made, to go watch them, not on like buying flagrant, like a Rolls Royce, but to go watch a movie, right? Because what's happening is people who choose to work less now can't even afford like very basic things. And you can see this in American society. When I was in high school, I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning someday to go for runs, because it felt really nice running and watching the sunrise. And on the highway, there would be no cars at 5 o'clock in the morning. Today, on the highway, there's more cars at 5 a.m. than there is at 10 a.m. after rush hour. That's insane. All these people, when do they sleep? When you don't have even time to sleep and you don't have any time to be with you go home, you eat dinner, and you go to bed immediately because you have to wake up and work the next day. Just to afford the bare minimum. What are you doing? You're just an animal that's just working. And that's what low taxes on a lot of money will do. That's one of the outcomes on it. So, and that's something that video didn't address. So there you have it. Let me know what you think.